Hello, pilot. Let me debrief you on Team Effort's first bit of downtime and the interactions they had at Forward Operating Base Sabre. I find reserves to be one of the most undefined parts of the Lancer rule set. They lack the specifics that the rest of the rules benefit from. Something that makes them particularly confusing to me is the lack of instruction on how many reserves to hand out and how much say the players should get in what they gain. The idea of giving a list of options to the players as some kind of shopping list feels a little unnatural and removes the excitement of gaining rewards. But maybe that's not the intention at all. I certainly didn't take that approach. In the example in the rules, each player gains 3 reserves due to the actions that they took during downtime. Does this mean that each player should have 3 reserves each? Are the encounter design rules created to account for these reserves, making characters without any technically operating below the intended strength? But then, according to the downtime action rules, actually getting them depends on a roll, so that can't be it, surely. The way that I ended up ruling it for this downtime specifically, where they only have an evening to explore, is that each player could choose one part of the base that they wanted to explore, and during that, they'd get a roleplay scene. I pre-assigned each scene with a suitable reserve as a reward for engaging with it. Then, once each player had done a roleplay scene, they could all roll on the Solstice Rain specific reserves once to ensure that they at least got 1 reserve. This is definitely not how the mechanic is intended to function, but it worked for us as a chance to do some casual roleplay and get some fun rewards to use in the next mission. With Team Effort's chassis safely squared away for repairs, the team piled into the makeshift mess hall to get a well-earned meal and drink. The atmosphere in the hall was positive. Since the destruction of the Rainmaker, dropships had started to land reliably, and people were eager to thank the group that brought it down. Once they found a table, Team Effort debriefed on their first combat mission.
Here's to not dying on our first one out, guys. And I'll hold up my mug. Here's to Team Effort. Cheers.
You're here!
To Team Effort.
Effort!
Divine intervention.
Sure.
Sure.
It's a hell of a ride, right? I didn't think we were going to make it, but at least we're here now. What's next? I don't remember.
We
What
hang
we
back
made.
until we get new orders, right?
Well, yeah, but like, what do you think we're going to be doing? Because there's so many people that need so
Fine.
much help here. I mean, you saw the town. It's a wreck down here.
But we haven't still finished our primal mission, haven't we? Yeah, we never found Pritch's Ferris, did we? Did you hope
No.
we find new information on her, though?
It's true. I just feel like we've seen so much down here already. I feel like, yes, obviously we're here to get them, but after that, we must have a plan to help just wider, you know? Like, everyone here's suffering. I just feel awful for them. Like that little girl on the bus. Like, what's happened next? This is our home. She hasn't got anywhere to go.
Don't know that we're gonna be doing that much in regards to them. I think there's other people for that.
We can help where we can, though, right?
Yeah, certainly, Aramis. We can help where we can, but you gotta keep in mind that we have our duty to make. That then there's other people who are going to deal with the civilian issues, right?
But yeah, I just want you to know that if I can help, I will, right? I'm not just gonna like brush it under the rug.
Of course.
I spent too long doing that and not just want to follow orders anymore. But
Still gotta follow them, though.
oh yeah, of course. Like I'll follow them. I won't just do them.
So, if there was something that came up that you disagreed with, would you follow your faith or would you follow the order?
I mean, faith isn't really the word I would say, but probably follow my heart.
Faith is belief.
guess.
I believe in something else. You believe in yourself, do you not? Therefore, you have faith in yourself.
Nah, that's a little bit too deep for me, man. But let's just say I go with my gut.
That's acceptable. Commendable, even. Hopefully, our faith will get us through whatever we must come up against.
You know,
Here's to your faith and my gut, and I'm gonna down my coffee and forget it wasn't a beer.
I'll raise my mug as well.
All right. Unless any of you guys have anything else you want to talk about, I'm gonna do some training. Anyone want to come?
Aren't
So
you,
while
like, tired? Or do you
yeah,
just-
but gotta stay in tip-top condition. I missed it this morning, and I mean, surely there's some new sparring partners down here that can maybe take on all this. Not like stand up and like punch the air.
Sure
You
ain't me.
have so much fun with that.
As much as sparring sounds enlightening and fun, I feel I have duties elsewhere I will attend to.
All right, you and your faith. Got it.
Aramis, looking for some new potential sparring partners, headed to the LSA barracks. She entered the room with dozens of LSA soldiers winding down for the night, some of them making use of makeshift gym equipment and others just relaxing. As soon as Aramis appeared, several soldiers gathered around her, clearly excited by her arrival. Wow, you guys are, you're really union, hey? Gotta be honest, I didn't think you people actually existed. You know, not anymore. And yeah, you see this this group of guys sort of gather around you in their LSA uniforms, and they just begin like peppering you with questions about like kind of inane questions to you about like what the rest of the galaxy's like. It's up to you obviously how receptive you are to this, but they try and ask just very strange questions about day-to-day life, like what kind of foods you have, like what the day-night cycle's like on your planet, things that you wouldn't really think of being strange. That's kind of the scenario you find yourself in.
All right. After like they've all pepped off the questions, when I put both hands up. Whoa. Hey, like this isn't a school visit, you know? How about instead of telling you what's different out there, how about I show you? Anyone up for some sparring?
Ooh, they kind of look at each other a little nervously, but then one of them does step up. One of the larger ones, who you can see just from an immediate glance, seems to have a bit of an ego about them. They kind of like crack their neck and give you a smirk. Yeah, go on then.
All right. First to down, 3 contacts. What are you thinking?
How do you do it in Union?
Whatever's the most efficient.
Let's go first down then.
All right, your funeral.
Okay. People immediately take quite a strong interest in this, and everybody who was working out or sparring stops and makes like a, you know, when people create a wall of themselves, of people, you create like a large space that you and the soldier head into.
Cool. And then I'd like to use my take someone out trigger.
Damn.
Aramis rolled to take someone out. Unfortunately, upon rolling a 5, Aramis engaged the soldier in her typically nimble and acrobatic combat approach, but the man was like a brick wall, and after struggling against him for several long seconds, he did not go. Like everyone, he had been expecting an impressive assault, so had been purely bracing. This time, if Aramis failed again, he'd be ready to drop her. But this time she was successful, just barely. She darted past him, leapt up onto his back, and used a headlock and her body weight to force him down. The surrounding soldiers began to cheer for Aramis and jokingly jeered at the soldier. She spent a long while in the barracks, sparring with some hopeful soldiers and chatting about life on the planet. During this conversation with the locals, she ended up learning about several local icons, be it favourite restaurants or local resources. This took the form of the Reputation Reserve, a few names that she could drop to get the locals on side if she needed to. Moving perspectives, Jackalope had gone to check on his mech and ensured that the repairs were going well. He headed to the mech hangar where several engineers and Vona herself were hard at work. As he stood taking in the view, Vona sauntered over. Come to check up on her, hey? Don't worry, she'll be as good as new. Hell, these mexios are practically, they build themselves now, don't they? You turn in and see Vona, who is that woman who was in charge of repairs. She doesn't seem to mind the company in the engineering bay where your mech is being gone over by technicians. The temperature in this room is sweltering though, thanks to the printer, running far beyond the normal tolerances. And it's hard to say whether it's better or worse than being out in the rain that has begun to fall. You want him to pitch in, or are you just here to keep an eye on us?
You know, Vona, at first I just wanted to look over your shoulder, like what you're doing with our babies, right? But if you have something for our hands, I think we would be glad to support.
Of course. We can always use the extra hands. She hands you these sort of futuristic wrenches, basically, that can be used to weld and to screw bolts in, and she sends you up to these little cranes that rise you to the various parts of the mix, and people come over with the various different parts that have been freshly printed, whether that be internal circuits or full mech-sized weaponry. Jackalope began working away on the mechs, installing various replacement parts as they got printed. He used the Stay Cool trigger, which I allowed, but I do think maybe Stay Cool is too broad in its uses, and it's kind of becoming the default trigger people use to do anything, so I might need to be stricter on when I allow it in the future. But he succeeded, and he spent several hours working away, and it became quite a relaxing work. Vona eventually came to check in with him. As you're working away, you see that Varna eventually comes and stands at the bottom, and she kind of nods to herself, looking pretty impressed with you. Gives you a slow clap. Not bad, not bad. You've done a pretty bang up job there.
Why, thank you. I try to do my best. It's what we're working with, right? You need to fix your tools and just to get your work done as best as you can.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, since we've had the extra hands, we've got a few extra parts left over, and since we can't pay you any other way, she kind of nods, and people bring over a bunch of extra supplies, and for this next mission, your repair cap is increased by 2. For helping out with the repairs, Jackalope got the extra repairs reserve. Meanwhile, Mother was wandering the halls of this new facility. As an NHP, sleep wasn't something that she needed, and as the night trailed on, she found herself the chosen plaything of a strange cat. Nobody seemed to be looking for a lost pet, so its appearance here was unusual, but it latched onto Mother for the time being. The interesting thing about this cat, however, was that it wore a bulky, techie collar, and as the cat fussed around Mother, the collar spoke. Hello, could you please acquire me some fish, please?
Oh, some fish.
Yes, please. I'm quite hungry.
I will scratch the cat under the chin, and I hope the cat likes it. Is it you who's speaking to me?
Well, technically I'm an NHP translator for the cat, but the cat would quite like some fish.
Is there a specific kind of fish you like?
I don't think we can be fussy in this situation.
True. And I will get up and immediately look for food for the cat. Is the cat allowed in the cafeteria?
Nobody stops you if you head inside with the cat. People will fuss it as it jumps across tables and things.
Good.
Mother entered the mess hall and, after a search using the investigate trigger, located a family that had a collection of small fish that they were preparing to eat.
Then I will rock up to that family with the cat in tow, hopefully. Good evening. Is it okay if I bother you for a moment?
The mother will look over. Oh, of course. Anything we can do for you?
Yes, I am so sorry to bother you, but I can't look away that you have this. And I will point at the fish. This fish over here. Would it be okay if I take some for my cat? And I will point at the cat.
They look over, and the kids get quite excited and come over and fuss the cat. You see the parents kind of look at each other, and they have a bit of a conversation in a different language, and you can see that they seem to be discussing it, not super confident about whether this is a good idea or not. Is there anything you want to do to sort of help persuade the situation?
Yes. Of course, your good deed will not go unnoticed, so I will order anything you'd like from the menu for you as a compensation.
They seem quite pleased with that, and the father takes one of the fish and cuts a 3-inch chunk off the end of the fish and hands it over.
Nice. I will give it to the cat and make sure the cat eats and likes the fish.
Yes, the cat will take the piece of fish. Excellent. Thank you very much.
I'm glad you're pleased.
Carry it away and eat it, and it'll stay with you for the remainder of the day. And your reserve is an NHP assistant. Mother had earned herself the NHP assistant, which is essentially a little AI companion that she can ask for advice, which in essence is asking the GM for advice. While the others had been exploring FOB Saber, Partisan finally had his chance to quiz Archangel on his religion.
Archangel, tell me, what is it that you preach exactly? I mean, I've been hearing what you've been saying, but I haven't really been piecing it together, if you know what I mean. I've been busy. So I'd like you to give me a rundown, if you don't mind.
Well, big thing is my faith, we believe in the power of the human spirit and great things that it can do. Do you know the story of Edith Rosa?
The story of what now?
Of Edith Rosa. She was a pilot just like us.
Oh,
Many cycles ago, though.
I don't think I heard it.
Basically, she fought on the front lines back when all hope was lost. She was different though. She didn't have access to all her limbs. She couldn't walk. Yet when she piloted her mech, the stories they tell in scripture is she was much like you, a beast on the battlefield.
Oh, really?
We have come to dub her as the saint, and when miracles abound, like what we experienced earlier, I would say that was a miracle. We faced overwhelming odds and came out on top. Who could have thought that that missile platform didn't fire a single shot at us?
You know what? There might be something to what you're saying. I got a pretty good look at that platform. It had loads of racks, anti-air, all kinds of missiles. But you know what? I think it must have been damaged by something.
Well, obviously it was damaged by the bombs, but what guided the bombs obviously was the Saint. Like, it could have damaged any other system, but the weapon system was what was damaged.
Yeah, I'll admit, that's quite the coincidence, ain't it?
What you call coincidence, we call intervention.
Yeah, divine intervention. I know all about that, but I don't know.
Are you having trouble with yourself? Are you feeling...
Honestly, right now, I'm feeling pretty good. We beat back the foe, we did our mission, and I'm about to drink.
Yes, we're still above ground, we're still breathing, we can still be of assistance.
Amen, brother.
We go ahead and pat you on the back. Celebrate. I'm gonna go search out more acolytes, and it's been a while since I've had communion. I think I'm gonna oversee that with some. You're more than welcome to join, if you so feel.
I don't know. I think you got that covered. I'll handle our PR, if you know what I'm saying.
I left Archangel's player full creative control over what his faith was, so this was actually my first time hearing about this religion too. It's a pretty cool take on a sci-fi faith. Partisan was left alone at the table to nurse his drink and think the day over. As he drank the evening away, eventually he noticed that the table next to his was becoming increasingly rowdy. A mix of LSA and Union soldiers were poring over a map of the city. He watched as they grew frustrated with one another. Clearly they were struggling with some kind of battle plan. You see there's one person at the end of the table who's kind of got their head in their hands, and they're slowly drinking their drink with a straw, and they are losing focus a little bit. They scan the area and they make eye contact with you. They give you a bit of a nod and then kind of give you a look over and give you that head gesture of come over here.
Does it look like they have any drinks to spare over there?
There's plenty on the table, but you're not sure if they're accounted for or not.
I'm gonna assume they're not, so yeah, I'm gonna head over.
You sit down opposite this guy and gives you another nod.
Greetings.
Yeah, you're one of those fancy mech guys, right?
That's right. They call me Partisan.
Partisan, oh, very fancy, very nice. Wonder if you could help us out over here. He nods towards the map, and you get a look at it, and it's a map of what seems to be some kind of teched out office district. We're pretty sure the jam is in this area. We're trying to come up with a viable strategy, and as far as I'm concerned, it's likely going to be you and your people that head over there once the time's right and take out this fucking jamming. For Partisan's reserve, he got to see the battle map of the first fight of Mission 2 early. This allowed him to begin thinking of strategies early.
Yeah, I bet you're right, friend. What you figured out so far?
Well, it seems like there's some kind of distortion field around the area. Makes it kind of obnoxious to look at, to be honest. We're thinking approach from the southern area, since that's the easiest route through all the buildings.
Got a drink for a thirsty pilot?
He looks to his left, and the guy next to him is very distracted, yelling at someone across the table about how whatever he said is a fucking stupid idea. It's going to get someone killed. And the guy like just subtly reaches across, takes his drink, and hands it to you.
Yeah, I'll take it, give him a nod, and proceed. Gesture.
Very welcome. Look, the area is high buildings, but they do seem to be somewhat accessible. There's plenty of staircases, bridges, whatever.
And they'll hold mechs?
Oh yeah, they'll hold mechs. As long as you don't, blow apart.
Mate, you mind if I keep this map, or you got a copy? I'm gonna want to share this with my partners.
I can get you a copy. Meanwhile, Archangel had headed to the civilian shelter. There were people sat around looking tired or scared. As he wandered among them, a woman approached and asked if he was one of the soldiers from the ship, and quite brazenly asked if he could help her acquire additional supplies.
Yes, I'm sure I can requisition some supplies. Where are you all from?
We're from the local area. The sovereign forces, they overwhelmed us pretty quickly, but we managed to get on one of those buses. They ended up taking us here, and here we are.
Buses? We helped escort a bus not too
Great.
long ago out of territory.
Seems like you guys are doing good work out there.
Trying to, just one foot in front of the other, as the old adage would say. Are your people all right otherwise?
Yeah, they're just tired and scared and want to go home. I just want to make sure everyone's taken care of.
Let me go see about those supplies, and maybe I'll be able to get a little extra for them.
Archangel took a somewhat dubious approach and used the Act Unseen trigger to swipe a crate of supplies as they were delivered by a dropship. The supplies were intended for Union use, but he acted to help the locals instead. He returned the supplies to the woman, who was overjoyed. After spending a good while handing out the supplies and aiding the locals, the woman eventually pulled him aside and showed him a large, mech-scale revolver that she had covered in sheets. After explaining that it belonged to her deceased partner, she offered it to Archangel, wishing for him to put it to good use. This was intended as a rented gear reserve, in this case a hand cannon weapon. However, by this point my players had already leveled and they'd already built their mechs for the next combat. This meant that this reserve was ultimately not useful to Archangel, and he was forced to deny it. I felt a bit bad about him rolling well enough to get a reserve but then not getting anything directly useful, so as a compromise I decided that I was going to let him roll twice on the Solstice Rain specific reserve charts when we get to that bit. The last of our pilots exploring the base was Sawbones. She had made her way to the roof, where rain poured and distant explosions regularly silhouetted Vestan mechs. As she took in the view, an LSA soldier leant against the railing beside her. Man, look at this shit. And he hands you the binoculars to look over the city.
A lot of activity down there.
Yeah, they're out there. Vestan bastards.
Oh, I mean, it's not all of them, right? Because some is us against them. So.
Yeah. We got people out there. I'm sure they're doing all right. You're with the Union people, right?
Indeed.
Gonna get you back out there in the morning, I suppose.
Yeah, they're just, fixing us up and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I've got one in the mech bay. Nothing as fancy as what you guys have, but it works.
Get you from point A to point B alive is the important part.
Exactly. Any idea what you're going to be up to?
No, not exactly. I mean, we're supposed to be finding people, I guess, but I don't know how, or where, or when. So.
Fair enough. You end up speaking with this man for a while, and he lets you know throughout the course of your conversation that he is also a mech pilot. He's an LSA mech pilot.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to be patrolling the area tomorrow. Sawbones had the chance to earn this mech pilot as her reserve in the form of a reinforcement. She used the read a situation trigger, trying to see what she could do to persuade him, and rolled a 7. This was technically a failure, but at this point I didn't want Sawbones to be the only person not to earn a reserve, so I gave her a choice. Either she could gain the reserve, but he would appear randomly during one of the combats, not during a chosen combat. Or she could try again, but failure would mean that she would not get a reserve. As I had kind of hoped, she chose to gain him as a randomly arriving reinforcement. And with that, the team effort squad all retired for a well-earned night of rest. The sun has barely started to rise by the time that you're woken up again. The rain has finally stopped, though, and the base is buzzing with activity. Messages have been arriving by courier that the LSA reinforcements have started arriving and massing just outside of Novalesia in preparation for a coordinated push to take and secure the city's central district from sovereign forces. With the district back under their control, locating Captain and Ambassador should be much more achievable. But Lieutenant Kim and Rio explain to you that you are not going to be part of that operation, though, as they have a different, much more crucial objective for you guys. It's time to finally do something about the jamming that's been blanketing the city. As long as it remains, there are concerns that lacking the ability to properly coordinate the LSA's push to retake the central district will be just picked apart. Based on intel gathered by various Union and LSA members following their arrival at FAB Sabre, it seems that Sovereignty have deployed a network of jamming transmitters throughout the city. Some squads have managed to destroy several that they've encountered on their way to the base, but it wasn't enough to bring the network down. In order to neutralize the jamming, the entire transmitter network is going to be needed to be taken offline. Fortunately, Rio, being the savvy NHP she is, has put together a viral code spike package that should be capable of disabling the network from a single transmission point. Once loaded onto one of your mechs, well, I suppose all of your mechs, all you guys need to do is transmit the unit and upload the program, which will happen automatically. However, this will require close proximity access in order to establish a clean link, which means your mission for today will be to find and secure a transmitter long enough for the program to upload itself. As Partisan witnessed last night, local LSA forces believe that there is a jamming transmitter located within striking distance of FAB Sabre, but their intel also suggests that Sovereignty forces are heavily reinforcing it, including airborne units that are patrolling the area. So that is where you guys are being sent to take over one of their transmitting sites, to upload a hostile code, and to bring the jammers offline. The details of the next mission are as follows. The mission objective is to neutralize the enemy's jamming communication network, then locate and secure Captain Faris and Ambassador Banerjee. Mission parameters. Intel places the nearest transmitter within a nearby financial commercial district. The area is densely packed with tall buildings, and there are reports that the Western Sovereignty has begun to deploy air assets in the area. The existence of the jamming network also indicates that the Sovereignty forces have significant electronic warfare assets at their disposal, so they should anticipate systemic invasion and localized sensor jamming optical camouflage equivalent capabilities. As for the stakes, if the players fail to neutralize the enemy jamming network on schedule, the LSA advance into Novalesia Central District will face heavy resistance, incurring serious casualties, which may hinder their ability to retake the city effectively. Should they then fail to locate and secure Captain Faris and Ambassador Banerjee, it will likely result in them being taken prisoner or even killed. The rewards for this mission will be that team effort is promoted to license level 2. Mission success may also grant them access to additional prototype exotic gear that they can then use on future missions. And as for reserves, well, you've seen that they all have at least one reserve from their activities the night before. However, after hearing the mission details, I allowed each player to roll on this Solstice Rain specific reserves table, and unlike the ones from last night, I let the players trade these ones around. So after each player had rolled and made any desired trades, here's what each player would be heading into mission 2 with. Partisan had the Ambush Reserve, giving him a preview of the first battle map, and the Return to Sender Reserve, a captured artillery shell that he can throw down for 3d6 damage to mechs, or 30 damage to terrain. Aramis had the Reputation Reserve, letting her name drop the Frank and Phillips Diner to gain a good standing with any locals they encounter. She also had the Personal Touch Reserve, which gives her custom paint job as a free system. Jackalope had the Extra Repairs, which gives him 2 extra repairs to his repair cap, and the Up Armoring Reserve, giving him +1 armor and 4 overshield in the first combat. Sawbones had the reinforcement reserve, but due to poor rolls, the LSA Ronin would be randomly appearing. She also had the recon drone reserve, letting her choose an enemy mech for an immediate scan at the start of each fight. Mother had an NHP assistant that she could ask questions to for advice, and the sniper team, meaning during a chosen combat, she could apply 2 armor-piercing damage any time she locked on. Lastly, Archangel had hot loaded ammo, letting him choose 1 attack to ignore armor and resistance and potentially knock them prone, and a second recon drone, letting them scan a second enemy at the start of combat. With their mech loadout set, their pilots leveled, and their reserves earned, Team Effort set out on their next mission. And that concluded the downtime session at FOB Sabre. While I understand the intent behind the downtime and reserve system, it doesn't seem well defined, and it certainly doesn't work as intended in this module. I think we came up with a suitable band-aid that allowed us to do some much needed roleplay and to let them earn a little bit of extra power. I'm hoping when we reach Winter Scar, that will let me GM the downtime system as it's supposed to be run. For now though, I'm excited to see how our players handle the upcoming challenges. Some of these vested mechs pack quite a punch. But for now, I'll see you in the next episode for Clear the Air. Over and out.